chicken here on this February the 2nd, and the snow is melting away. I gotta see if I can see my shadow. Ah! Oh, I think I saw my shadow. Yeah, I did. What does that mean? That means 6 more weeks of winter. Let's go! By the way, speaking of 6 more weeks of winter, we have snow moving in this weekend. And it could be a significant amount. There's a winter storm watch in southwestern Alberta. Yeah, there is. 15 to 30 centimeters of snow. Not out of the question as we go into the weekend. By the way, those are contrails behind me. 6 more weeks of winter. You're welcome. Sincerely, the Doppler chicken, who's a weather guy in a costume.
Well, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather we got. Wait a minute. Well, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather, whether or not. There it is.
Good morning, Prince George, and good afternoon, Winnipeg. Hello to listeners in Kamloops and to viewers on Rogers Television. If you're catching us on C4 88.7 FM in Prince George, CKUW 95.9 in Winnipeg, or CFBX 92.5 FM. You know when you're trying to talk, but then saliva starts coming out of the weird side of your mouth, and then you're like, that's how I'm starting my show tonight, with weird saliva thing. What a great show we have tonight. Okay, this is crazy things that have been happening all over North America this last week, weather-wise, and more crazy to come still for particularly Southern California. We have with us their usual panel of meteorologists, with Frankie McDonald, the world's greatest weatherman out there in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Brandon Hauk, our weatherman in Brooks, Alberta, Imogen Cookie-Bailey, our associate producer down in Victoria, British Columbia, and Hilding Donaldson. But also we have special guests tonight in Mark Ingalls and Chris Calais, and they are meteorologists from the Pacific Northwest. They're from Portland, and they are currently at the American Meteorological Society annual meeting that's taking place in Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm not sure if they can hear me right now because their internet keeps cutting out at the hotel. Mark and Chris, can you hear me?
We are back for now.
That's Mark, and there's Chris with the glasses, and they both have glasses, actually. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And
happy to be here.
Yep.
We'll come back to you, of course, but briefly, what's going on at the American Meteorological Society annual meeting?
Well, there were a lot of talks. We are in renewable energy, so we focused kind of on that, but there were a lot of talks on AI, a lot of talks on atmospheric rivers, which are a big deal, of course, on the U.S. and Canadian West Coast, and there was a lot of swag. So we'll talk a little bit about that too.
So we'll be with them in a few minutes. But of course, at the top of the show, as per usual, standing outside in the middle of the street in Sydney, Nova Scotia, stealing Wi-Fi at A&W is Frankie McDonald.
Frankie!
And some nice ladies.
And what about the meteorologists in Oregon?
You guys are great. There's a big storm coming up.
And the big storm in Los Angeles as well.
A big storm in Los Angeles?
Hi, ladies. Welcome to the Comedeorological Report, Comedy Plus Meteorology. It's your show about how much the weather sucks in Canada, eh?
Yeah, it really does suck.
And now Los Angeles.
And now Los Angeles.
Okay, Frankie. So there's Frankie McDonald. He's stealing Wi-Fi outside Sydney, Nova Scotia's A&W. How you doing, Frankie?
I'm doing great so far. There's an odd weather pattern in effect. There's a stubborn low-pressure system and stormy weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Nova Scotia, and Los Angeles getting a lot of rain on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as well. 2 different stubborn storms. One in Nova Scotia, other in California.
Talk to us, Frankie. Talk to us about what's happened this week and what's to come.
There's one storm heading for Nova Scotia and the other heading for California. Double storm.
It's double storm time, Frankie. What else?
And it's going to bring lots of rain. New Orleans, Louisiana, and Houston, Texas, those places. There's a big storm heading for Florida on Monday. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in the state of Florida and places like this.
Excellent. What else, Frankie? What's going on in the world?
Lots of storms coming off the coast of Japan right now. And there's a blocking high up and around northern Quebec and those places right now. There's another storm developing in Florida that's causing a lot of blocking. There's a storm in Bermuda too, and up in there's a lot of rain going on in London, United Kingdom right now. And South Africa, lots of thunderstorms and rain going on in Central America, South America, like Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and all those places as well. Lots of stormy weather going on in Europe too. And weather, what's the weather for Europe? And over in Europe, lots of snow up Norway and lots of rain in the coastal areas of Norway. There's a big warm air in England right now. Then it got lots of warm air hitting towards England. It's really, really dry in the United Kingdom. Then again, except for far northern Scotland right now, it's really warm in France and Spain and Portugal. Even Morocco and Algeria and Libya and all those places right now. Then it got some cold weather in eastern Turkey and Syria and those places. Then it got snow headed towards Syria next week as well. Then Moscow, Russia's getting really, really cold weather, including Sochi, Russia. Even Syria's getting really cold weather, parts of Lebanon and those places. As of right now. And Mongolia is really, really cold. And Siberia right now is really, really cold right now. There are storms coming off the coast of Japan. One storm right after another coming off the coast of China. The odd weather. In fact, China's supposed to be in a dry season. During a lot of rain right now coming off the coast of China. The series of rainstorms hitting Hong Kong and those places right now. And Philippines, southern Philippines, there's lots of rain thunderstorms right now. Lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Indonesia right now. Over in India, it's really, really dry in India right now. Places like Sri Lanka, there's lots of thunderstorms and rain going on in Sri Lanka right now. In southern Africa, it's lots of thunderstorms and rain going on in Botswana. It's really dry in Botswana right now. Zimbabwe, Zambia, and southern Congo, and Namibia, and Angola. Lots of thunderstorms and rain going on right now. And lots of rain going on in Namibia, and Angola, and Gabon, and all those places. And Southwest Pacific, like, there's a cyclone hitting there's another cyclone hitting northern Australia right now. There's going to remnants. It's going to hit towards Invercargill, New Zealand next week as well. And there's supposed to be a big cyclone around February 17th. Too far to tell yet. There's lots of rain going on in northern Australia as right now. Lots of stormy weather in New Zealand too, and cold air coming all the way from Antarctica and going all the way up to places like up in North Island, New Zealand, like Auckland, Gisborne, Hamilton, including New Plymouth and all those places. In Hamilton, Nelson, Gracemouth, and Christchurch are getting rain there right now, and even Invercargill, New Zealand. Antarctica will be starting to get some darkness this month and the next month. There'll be darkness will return to Antarctica, and daylight will return up in the Arctic.
Excellent, Frankie. Guess who's just signed in to join us for the show tonight?
Brian.
Many of us have served long Facebook jail sentences. It's a blast, man. I mean,
yeah, Brian Schmidt from Portland Weather Uncensored. So we got Portland heavy show tonight. That's great. That's great. So we'll have him. He's still kind of having trouble joining or something like that.
And what about the big storms in Nova Scotia and California?
We will talk about that in 1 minute, Frankie. But what's going on in outer space?
Right now, an asteroid 2024 BP1 headed towards the Earth on Friday, February 2nd, 2024. It's going to bypass the Earth. That's going to trigger a lot of earthquakes.
There you go, Frankie McDonald. Anybody on the panel have questions for Frankie McDonald Jr.?
I am interested to know how big the asteroid is.
It's a pretty big one. It's going to bypass the Earth. It may trigger a lot of earthquakes.
Questions for Frankie. Hey, Brian. Good to see you, buddy. Been a while.
hello.
Hey, Brian, how's the Los Angeles looking on Sunday for the whole week next week?
I had to do a bunch of updates to get on.
What are we hearing? What just happened?
Echo.
Awesome.
Okay.
What about the Los Angeles weather next week?
Sounds like there's a reverb problem over there at Brian's house there for a minute that he's going to sort out.
Frankie Mac, I got a question for you, bud. Okay, so on the outside of our solar system, the planet WASP 76b. So it's about 640 light years away. It's hidden away in the constellation Pisces. Now, on this massive, mega-sized exoplanet, it actually rains iron. The atmosphere is so dense that it rains giant iron pellets and boulders. We get weeny little ice crystals and hail and snow and drizzle. They get iron. This is the most heavy metal planet ever. Now, the question I have is, how big would a shark on that planet have to be to tail swat an iron boulder the size of a soccer ball out of the air? And can they play ping
It's a
pong?
pretty big one.
Are we talking megalodon, or are we talking like, pterodactyl-sized dinosaurs?
I don't believe a shark could survive on a planet like that. Not in the current shark-like state that they have on Earth. There would have to be some sort of iron.
Mega sharks, right?
Iron kind of heavy shark, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it can rain diamonds on a planet within our solar system, there's no reason why we cannot have sharks on a planet that rains iron. Now, these are obviously adapted sharks. This is part of the magic of evolution and the evolutionary process in which they exist on this planet. This is the world in which I live, where this is possible. We're out there in the constellation Pisces, WASP 76b. It rains iron. This is, you can look this up on the NASA website or whatever. Google it. You'll find all sorts of, actual science-backed stuff. I'm not just pulling this out of nowhere. Yeah. But if there's to be life on other planets, then surely there can be sharks. And there's no reason why. We just don't know about this because we cannot actually get there. So it is theoretically possible that sharks exist on this planet. And I'm just curious how big a shark would have to be able to tail swat an iron boulder the size of a soccer ball out of the air.
Well, we know for a fact there might have been sharks once upon a time in...
They might have had sharks on Mars once upon a time.
Mars.
Well, yeah.
Talk about the atmospheric river. Frankie's got questions. What about Los Angeles this week? What about the atmospheric river that just happened? In British Columbia, we had boulders rolling onto roads the size of Volkswagens. We had thunderstorms in the middle of the night, severe wind blast taking out 10,000 customers' power in Prince George. We had floods in Pemberton and other places, high river flows, flooding on Vancouver Island. And on top of that, record high temperatures all across Western Canada. And I mean, we could open up the discussion and look at some of those high temperatures, but I don't know if we have to. I think people know how many records were broken. A lot.
All right, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Steve.
Always.
All right, let's
go.
Gosh dang it, how does this work? We should have tested this out before we started, eh?
Well, those are the windows you have open.
Okay, remember.
Should have a little share bottom in there.
There we go. Oh, the computer won't let us do it. That's so disappointing. That's what we get for using a work computer. All right, well.
That's the technology we have.
We're gonna pretend that. So what we had was the major low pressure system off the coast of Washington and Oregon and British Columbia. It had hurricane force winds, but it was several hundred kilometers offshore, not just several kilometers. And the nature of low pressure systems, the air rotates counterclockwise around them, and so it pulls that warm air and that moisture up from the south, and the storm was big enough to tap into tropical moisture. Those of us who are older than about 10 will remember the term Pineapple Express, and I think this would be a good candidate for a Pineapple Express type. All Pineapple Expresses are atmospheric rivers, but not all atmospheric rivers are Pineapple Expresses. But because it's tapped from the subtropical Pacific Ocean, it makes it quite warm, and it's quite moist on Vancouver Island and in the Coast Range and down into Washington and Oregon.
And now it's turning it, so we got kind of 2 weak storms that are sort of hanging around still, re-emerging and aiming to California.
Right, so we have what we call split flow, which this is a more typical El Nino pattern. And since I can't show the map, I'll just describe it. Basically, the jet stream, which is the jet stream, which is up at where the planes fly. Normally, it's not normally, but often it's one continuous line, and it'll have waves on it on the map and whatever, and it'll go across the Pacific and North America and Europe and Asia and all that stuff. But right now, there is a cutoff low that is going to be centered near where Oregon and California and the Pacific Ocean meet. And so there's going to be one bit that goes south into the central California coast, one bit that goes north of British Columbia, and that is funneling all of that moisture. There's going to be additional low pressure systems in that, but all that moisture, because of the split flow, instead of coming into British Columbia and the Northwest, it's going into Central and Southern California. And I had the European model up here, and the European model gives 230 millimeters of rain for Los Angeles over the next 5 days. I see here. So if you switch that to rain accumulation real quick for me, and then we're getting a little feedback. We'll just deal with it. Rain accumulation, switch it out to 5 days. Click the little, instead of the heart button there in the bottom right, click the little sunshine with the cloud. You can see, up in the mountains north of LA, 305 millimeters, but LA itself, what is that, 229 millimeters? And for context, I'm pretty sure Los Angeles averages about 380 millimeters of rain over the course of the entire year. So they are slated to get, in the next 5 days, 2/3 of their annual average rainfall.
Yeah, I mean, flash flooding is almost definite in that kind of scenario.
Right, but you see here the snow in the Sierra Nevada, that's going to be quite nice because snow levels are going to be at about 1,700 meters. And Lake Tahoe, I don't remember exactly the Lake Tahoe elevation, but where the freeway between Sacramento and Reno is, it gets up to about 2,500 meter elevation, or maybe 2,700 meters.
I think Tahoe's about 1,800 meters. Roughly.
Yeah, so plenty of snow in the Sierra Nevada, which will be good. And this is a more typical El Nino sort of pattern, and this will, if we can hold on to this snow into like May and June, we'll have good snowpack, we'll have good water availability in California, and this impacts the electrical power market throughout the entire western U.S. and Canada. And so if there's good hydro in California, that helps to keep our energy prices a little bit lower for the year.
You're at the American Meteorological Society's annual meeting. What's that like?
It is many things, but overall it is a grouping of weather nerds. There were a lot of PhDs, and there was a lot of stuff that went over my head because I just have a bachelor's degree, and I think Chris is in the same boat. But some key takeaways from what we attended. We attended some AI modeling seminars, and the key takeaway from that is they're working on it, but it's still not great. And then renewable energy, the wind and solar vary pretty significantly over short time scales, and so there are some pretty major elephants in the room to handle before we can fully decarbonize the electrical economy. But the real fun was downstairs in the exhibit hall where all of the companies were hawking their wares. So for those on the radio, we are wearing Northrop Grumman beanies. And Northrop Grumman is, of course, the major defense contractor that only handles weather data and nothing else at all. Wink, wink. Northrop Grumman was there. Lockheed Martin was there. Raytheon was there. But there were also like Kestrel. If you're a weather nerd, you know what Kestrel is. Kestrel and Ambient are owned by the same company. Ambient
Scientific, Meter. There were all kinds of like companies with drone technology trying to basically we're trying to figure out what the temperature profile is, wind profile is aloft between our wind parks and the top of it, inversion layer. That's a big thing for us, so.
NASA was there, and I got roped into some NASA research. Yeah. My wife and I were flying to Arkansas for the solar eclipse in April, and she wasn't happy with me when I told her I had to requisition her tripod. She's a professional photographer. She wasn't happy that I had to requisition her tripod for NASA research. What's that, Frankie?
Mark and Chris, you could even meet Ivan of Don and Mantis podcast. Once you go to Arkansas this April coming, you could even meet Don and Mantis podcast.
Ooh, I'll have to look into that. Yeah. NOAA was there, of course, the the agency that's over the U.S. National Weather Service, and there was just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there were 7,000 attendees between the virtual and the in person. I feel like with that was a huge convention center, but I feel like we probably had in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 5,000 there. So probably the largest meeting of meteorologists that you're going to see anywhere in the world this year.
We had to go out for lunch. We had to walk a full kilometer away from the convention center because there were just so many people right around here, and that was the most brutal part. I got in every single day this week. I have my Apple Watch, and it told me I walked more than 7 kilometers, and one day I walked 15 kilometers. So it was a good time.
Sometimes you got to go.
The weather was nice.
Yes, so it's been warm here. It wasn't quite as warm midweek, but when we landed that day, it got to 26 degrees Celsius in Baltimore. That tied the all-time January record. We went down to D.C. just to visit because we don't get to this side of the country often, and it was 27 there last Friday. That breaks the all-time January record. Midweek, we were kind of down around 5 degrees Celsius or whatever, but it's warmed up again, and it was sunny today, so it was pretty nice. I like rain a lot, but when you're traveling, you want a little bit less of it.
It was an interesting thermodynamic profile because we had an inversion at about 850 millibars, and it was keeping that stratus in place for like 2 days straight. At the same time, we had pretty strong northeast winds off of the Atlantic. And then, like I said, we had that inversion because we had southwesterly winds aloft above that. And so we had a warm layer there. It just acted like the lid on a crock pot, kind of keeping that cold air in place. So really raw, really annoying. But today the sun broke out. We hit, what did we hit, about 14?
12 or so.
12 or so? Okay. Yeah, more like 12. But yeah, it was a great day to be out. And in fact, the president of the AMS commented on it even. He was like, oh, yeah, the sun was lighting up the Orioles Stadium. And I guess was a team sold or was a...
I don't know, something about the kind of manager. But is anybody here an NFL football fan?
Yeah, this is Canada.
I ask because
if they play it on skates, I think it's cool.
We can see the Baltimore Ravens stadium, and the Ravens played last Sunday for their chance to be in the Super Bowl. And they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, which is currently famous because Travis Kelce is betting with Taylor Swift. So we were within 1 kilometer of Taylor Swift. We were within 1 kilometer of Taylor Swift last weekend.
So Taylor Swift proximity, that was the closest I've been. I don't know about Mark.
That's probably it.
That's almost intimate. We'll come back to you guys in a minute. Brandon, talk to us about this record-breaking week we just had.
The Brandon Houck Report.
Oh, hi. This is the Brandon Houck Report.
Brandon Houck in Brooks, Alberta, home of the British Columbia Hockey League's Brooks Bandits, which he's
the new
the
British
producer
Columbia.
for.
Oh, yes. New BCHL team today, officially announced. Yeah. It's been a wild couple of weeks, but we did it. We made it through, and we're playing hockey again. So that's all good in the hood. Yeah. Anyways, we'll get into the records and the weather that we've had this week. My goodness, what a week we've had with temperatures well above the average mark. And I mean, way above the average mark. A lot of the ice, pretty much all over snowpack. It's gone. And we broke a record high today. It was a big record high today here in the city of Brooks. We got up to 13.8 degrees, which rounds up to about 14 degrees. And the old record was 13.3 back in 1924, which was 100 years ago today. So it's pretty much, it's wild, absolutely. And last couple of days, Cardston, Alberta got up to 18 degrees above the melting point there, and in Irvine as well, and in Maple Creek, Saskatchewan earlier this week broke their one of the third warmest places in January all time at 21 degrees Celsius there earlier this week as well. So that was on Tuesday, and then we had this wild little storm system moving out of British Columbia that I know Joey had that wind go through, Prince George as well, and that thing came out of it. Almost is pretty much behaved like a summertime thunderstorm with a little squall on it, and it was going at 80 kilometers an hour out of the mountains into the Grand Prairie area with wind gusts of 110 kilometers an hour. And there was a lot of power outages. Trees got knocked down. Somebody lost their barbecue cover. It was gone. Somebody's barbecue rolled down the stairs as well. And that was in Grand Prairie this week. So that wild wind moved its way. And there's even a couple lightning strikes. So we can officially declare it the first thunderstorm of the year in Canada. So it's just been a wild week.
People in Prince George saw lightning, and they were asking me because it was different colored lightning. I think definitely there could have been mixed precipitation in there, making the different colors, and also the wind blowing dust and things like that.
Definitely the wind
color
blowing
lightning.
dust there.
Yeah, that was quite wild. I know a roof of a heavy-duty shop got blown off in Vancouver Island in the middle of the night there. Peggy here in town, everything turned to ice, and the wind blew her truck out of her driveway and out into the laneway.
Oh yeah, that's wild.
That's different. Yeah. It felt like for a minute I wanted to blow my roof off. What's coming, Brandon?
What's coming? Well, we are anticipating, if I can get this shared dealio to work here. We're anticipating a change in the weather pattern finally for us here in the province of Alberta, and this is pretty much going to be welcome precipitation coming our way in the next couple of days here, as we have this as we're kind of interacting with the same low that's pushing into British Columbia there. So we've got that low along with an Arctic high dropping in from the north, especially because this last week we've been under this Omega blocking pattern, I must say. So
I'm not seeing your screen yet.
Oh, it should be there in 5, 4,
there it goes.
3, 2, 1. There we go. All right. There. It's taking its sweet time to share. All right. So we have this system moving in. So whenever low pressure develops in Montana, that spells trouble for us here in southern Alberta. And here it is, the snow wrapping up there. You've got your upslope enhancement, upslope flow, and there's that snow picking up in intensity Saturday night into Sunday across southern Alberta, extending into parts of trouble for us here in Saskatchewan. And it's just going to be a pretty good amount of snow. It's going to move you guys because you're right in my way to change this thing.
And maybe some freezing rain in Saskatchewan, looks like there.
Freezing rain, potentially in Saskatchewan. So looking like we're at least going to be in 10 to 20 centimeter range, possibly picking up over 30 to 40 in the southwestern corner of the province in the next Saturday right into Sunday there. And into next week, we're going to continue to see temperatures kind of hanging out just around the average mark for a change. So we're not going to go way below average like we were a couple of weeks ago when we broke record lows many weeks ago, minus 42 and wind chills in the minus 50s. So we'll be right around minus 3 to minus 5. So that's average for this time of year. Overnight lows in the minus teens. So more typical.
What about the Los Angeles weather on the map?
Oh, yes.
Well, Brian, we got so many people here now. Hank Fleece just showed up. So we got storm chasers and meteorologists and comedians and everybody and farmers. Brian, what's going on for you? How is this event for you and what's coming down there? Your take on it. Brian Schmidt from Portland Censored.
The kids missed the whole week of school, and today was record high temperature. We had a lot of rain, not much snow. Pretty wet month. We had about 25 centimeters of rain in December and January. So now there's a dry spell coming.
I'm having trouble hearing you, Brian. Could you get a little closer to the mic maybe? Or when was the highest January temperature record, Brandon?
Oh, I saw this on my X not too long ago. But
was it Niagara Falls?
Niagara Falls, yes, I saw Niagara Falls, and it was the year. Did I retweet that?
You're checking.
Double check.
So
yes, I did. 1950.
it seems like
I just retweeted that minutes ago.
Minutes ago.
Minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you're doing while you're live while you're recording, while you're working, you're on social media. Oh,
Yeah.
Brandon.
Of course.
Oh,
You have to be a good radio weatherman. Yeah.
considering
There's
you
a
spend half
connection
the
because
time on the air and half
1950
the
was
time
the
on
coldest
social.
ever in British Columbia, while Eastern Canada saw its all-time warmest at the same time.
Yeah. What was that again? Sorry, Brian.
I don't know, my audio's really messed up. Oh, so anyways, there's been a massive increase in the size of my group with the weather. Got 2,600 new people in like 3 weeks. So it's been pretty busy. A bunch of spammers too.
Scammers. Yeah, I get those interior weather and wilderness watchers and deniers. Scammers and deniers. You gotta love it. Yeah, they come to your group. Hilding, how was the weather for you this week in Grassy Plains, British Columbia? What's going on, cowboy?
Well, it's been basically drizzling rain here since Sunday. I saw freezing a couple of nights, but the days have been consistently around +5, +6. Today it was +5 at noon. I checked just before we started our report this evening, and it was up to +8 already. So it's actually warming up right now. We're looking at the snow all melt within the next day or two here, and the water is starting to just run off because the ground is frozen enough. So it's looking like really bad for crops as far as farmers go, because we're pretty late in the season to be losing all our water.
Or pretty early, for that matter. Imogen, Victoria, Vancouver Island, what was this week's weather like for people down there?
Not that bad, actually. Every time we hear atmospheric river where there's a lot of threat of heavy rainfall, flooding, etc., we always get the least of it. Victoria is exempt. I don't know why. We just are.
Rain shadow.
Up Island, you got the rain shadow of the Olympic Mountains there. Up Island, though, at Duncan and places like that.
Yep. Yeah, up island they get a lot more of that rainy weather. They get a lot more of the wind and the storminess than we do. Anytime we get bad weather coming along, then Tofino is just an absolute hot spot if you want to watch it. If you want to see some brilliant storms and lightning and thunder and all that good stuff. Tsunami looking, it's a surfer's dream, really. If you ever get a chance to go to Tofino, weather like storm watching is definitely a thing up there. Down here, it's bland, it's gray, it's damp, not a whole lot going on. It's any weather system just breaks up. There's a lot of little tiny rocky outcroppings of little islandettes all around here that it grates it down. It's like a cheese grater. A storm comes across the cheese grater and falls apart. So
Up Island, where Solander Island is, they had 90-mile-an-hour winds the other night, which is 144 kilometers an hour, roughly. And Hank.
Hey, Brandon, what's the Los Angeles weather like?
Los Angeles, they're about to get a lot of rain, especially in the next week. Probably flash flooding will be a big concern in the next week. And their weather today was quite dismal as well. They've had a lot of rain as well.
Rain, and there's a lot of snow in Nova Scotia, a lot of rain. Los Angeles, 2 different stubborn storms.
Oh, yes. 2 different storms, 2 big powerhouses in the weather community.
And the third powerhouse is there's a cyclone hitting northern Australia. It's going to bring a lot of rain. New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, they've had a lot of rain in Australia as well. Yeah, they've big time flooding there. I think the one day earlier this week they had like 300 millimeters of rain.
And what about the asteroid 2024 and then the asteroid 2024 BEP1 headed towards here on Friday, February 2nd, 2024. I got the video.
Ooh, I better duck for cover then.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think we have time for videos tonight. We got so many people here. We haven't talked to Hank Vliestra yet in Saskatchewan, south of him. 21 degrees this week, Hank. And we can't hear him.
Hank, unmute. We need to hear you.
Unmute.
Hank's not even talking. Oh, Hank.
Well,
Joey, what did you do? Why is Hank?
I didn't do nothing. Well, while we're waiting for Hank Vliestra to be able to speak to us. We'll go back to Mark and Chris because we've only got 24 minutes left. Mark and Chris, so you work in renewable energies. You're a meteorologist.
Yes.
You do more than just talk on the TV. You're a different kind of meteorologist than that.
Yes, well, apparently we talk on the TV today, but we forecast wind and solar. Our company owns wind and solar assets in Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon, and so we forecast. We make like a day ahead forecast, and then those traders will trade based on how much energy we expect to have, and then we make hourly forecasts to kind of make up the difference when in the error of that day ahead forecast. So it's kind of like a watered down stock market. They're literally on the phone calling, and they deal with counterparties all throughout the West. That includes BC Hydro. Their trading portion is called PowerX. We've got a few counterparties in Alberta, and then we send a lot down to California, and then Portland General Electric. We are not a utility ourselves. We just sell to the utilities. I did want to say, though, I will cover Winnipeg because my dad lives near there. Not there. He actually lives in Minnesota, but about 2 hours from Winnipeg. And it is crazy warm in Winnipeg, like Saskatchewan. The temperature anomalies, it's like 18 C above average. If you draw a line and go north from like Winnipeg to Saskatoon, this includes Churchill. And what's happening is there's a ridge kind of oriented over the southeastern U.S. up to Great Lakes like Michigan, and then into central Ontario, well west of Toronto. And so it's pulling up a lot of warmth and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And so I pulled up my official weather app, the Apple weather app, and it's going to be 5 degrees C in Winnipeg on Sunday, and the average for this time of year is minus 11 for the high, so 16 degrees above average for Winnipeg.
We took a look at some records for Winnipeg, daily record.
Oh, and we lost them again. The hotel Wi-Fi.
Hotel Wi-Fi. So daily. So yesterday was interesting. Yes, they had. We're hoping to break a record, but the airport itself didn't get to 5 degrees, but the rest of the city did. So it was weird.
We got them back.
We're back.
Sorry. So as I was saying, the daily records for Winnipeg, they're only about a degree or two above this +5. So we could be flirting with some daily records in Winnipeg.
Manitoba, probably eastern Saskatchewan.
Over the next few days.
So here we go. This right here is the daily forecast discussion. These are all temperature records that were broken yesterday. And some of them, 18 degrees in Cardston. Records since 1918. Claresholm 16.5. Pretty warm. Hendrickson Creek's definitely smashed its record. Well, who else can we say smashed the record? Waterton Park, it's pretty close to smashing. 16 degrees, that beats 11. So and this isn't just in Alberta. We keep going on. I mean, this is a long list. Then we go to British Columbia, records broken. In many cases, significantly. And then we go to Manitoba, records broken, 8.8 degrees in Emerson, Deerwood area, 10 degrees Celsius breaking records. Gretna doubles its record. Yeah, and then we go to Saskatchewan, same sort of thing, 15 degrees in Coronach. That's 5 degrees, beats the old record. And you see this trend going on. And I could read all these out, but we're not going to do that right now. That just
you mentioned 16 in Waterton Park. I've been to Glacier, which is on the Montana side right there, and I've been there in July and seen snow, and that's I don't know what elevation that weather station is at, but Waterton Park and Glacier National Park are a remarkably high elevation area. Like we're talking on the order of 1,200 meters at minimum, but many places over 2,000 meters, and they recorded 16. That's incredible.
Yeah, well, I'm at 1,200 meters here where I live. We were getting some 8-9 degree days and whatnot here in Wells, but I saw leading towards this, I was like looking at the different, looking at everything and saying like, wow, could it actually the freezing level get up to 10,000 feet in the South Rockies, and I believe that happened.
Right this time of year, that's something else. That's a problem because the road from Kalispell to go over Glacier and whatever, that gets up to 7,000 feet, which is 2,300 meters or so, and that's just very high elevation to be very warm in January.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time when that happens, it's like you have either an atmospheric river event where you have those that really warm that subtropical teleconnection, or you have like a ridge overhead with subsidence, which is essentially just sinking air from the mid levels, and due to the law of thermodynamics, it will warm as it sinks, and it just basically the pressure changing, etc. In fact, when we were interesting thought experiment, when we were coming out here on the airplane. It was minus 60 Celsius at the elevation we were at, which was
34,000 feet.
Yeah, roughly 34,000 feet.
10 kilometers.
10 kilometers, roughly. And when they bring that air into the aircraft, they actually have to use air conditioning to cool it down. Otherwise, if you use a QT diagram, you would see that air would be about plus 40 Celsius.
When they add all the additional air pressure so you don't suffocate.
Because the inside the aircraft, it's about 850 millibars, between 800 and 850. So that's a lot of warming. So you would basically be sweating to death inside that aircraft without air conditioning, even though it's negative 60 outside.
And we flew Alaska Airlines 2 weeks after they lost a door plug. So we're the bravest people here.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mark was threatening to open up the door. So I had to restrain him on the flight.
Yes.
Brandon Hauk has a question.
What?
Okay.
I do? I have a question.
Let's hear it.
Well, that was one question.
One question.
There's another one. He's got another one.
Maybe
I have a question here.
What is I shall ask, what is the best storm you've ever witnessed in your life?
Okay. I think this is probably it might be the same for both of us, but May 2020. We had a severe weather outbreak in Oregon, which is incredibly rare. And I lived in Eastern Washington at the time. Chris lived in Portland, and we met up. It was funny because my mom lives in Central Oregon, but was visiting us, and she was mad at me for going storm chasing where she lives. Yeah. But we drove down there, we met up, and we were waiting for this storm to come in. Like, I've lived in Nebraska, I've lived in Texas, but the sky was just so incredibly green. It was like looking at clouds of Andes mints.
Yeah.
And then it started we got the outflow wind, and it was sandblasting our legs, and then it started hailing, and I remember thinking to myself, my wife is not going to be very pleased if I come back with dents in my car and a broken windshield. And so we went out. We went, yeah. I didn't need to be doing that in my Kia Niro. So we kind of booked it back out towards the highway, but the hail is shredding the trees, and it's like it's like golf ball size hail. And then it's a good thing we got out of there, because right through that area, the storm produced straight line winds, not a tornado, just a straight line wind of about 210 kilometers an hour. And so we were going to chase it north from around Bend, Oregon, up towards Kennewick, Washington, and then kind of towards Spokane. But there was so much damage along the highway there north of where we got out of the hail zone that we couldn't get through. And then it was flooding in a town called Madras. And so we kind of just called it a day, but it was pretty incredible, especially for Oregon.
We had some power poles down. We had some, some grain silos that were all torn up.
Well, I think Brian's in British Columbia, because they're like, well, tornadoes don't really happen in British Columbia. Like, well,
tornadoes definitely happen in British Columbia.
They happened in the
they
UK.
Have and do, and I've seen storms that were very capable of doing it every year that I've been out watching storms, including this past year.
I don't want to leave Brian Schmidt out either, because he was a part of this. He was definitely giving us some intel on this, and watching radar and stuff as this was unfolding.
So I'm telling people that there's more than one kind of damaging thing that can come out of a thunderstorm. Like when it says when it's time to take cover, take cover.
That's true too. And hail is a underappreciated threat, especially. I mean, every Canadian province gets tornadoes. I don't know so much about the territories, especially when you get up towards the Arctic, but every Canadian province gets gets tornadoes. But hail, like even just golf ball size hail, was shredding these trees. And imagine what that's doing to like wheat, or like I've driven through southern Alberta and there's a ton of canola there, and you're just going to destroy that crop. And that hail is especially favorable in Alberta because of the higher elevation.
So just as an aside, last
in
summer,
2010, and baseballs fell and caused $450 million in damage to the city.
So were they Blue Jays baseballs?
Yeah.
Yeah, not softballs, hard balls, but actual baseballs.
So we're calling blue balls then? Or blue balls.
For the Blue Jays, yes.
I think Hilding had a question. Hilding, you got a question for Mark and Chris?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any comparison to the huge winds that we're getting on the coast now compared to the big blow that was in 1921.
I unfortunately don't know. I can say in general though that the coast, I mean, the BC coast is pretty similar to Washington and Oregon in that they do periodically get some pretty big windstorms. It's just a matter of where that low pressure system lands. So like earlier in the show, we were talking about that hurricane force storm off the coast of Washington and Oregon. Well, that landed on the somewhere on the BC coast or maybe Southeast Alaska. And so that does happen occasionally. I think we, at least anecdotally for myself, I've seen it more commonly towards Tofino and whatever, but that certainly happens. But I can't really compare it to previous storms because I just don't know.
Sometimes up towards like what is it, Haida Gwaii or whatever.
Haida Gwaii, yeah.
I still call them Queen Charlotte, but yeah.
2006, I believe it was, windstorm that knocked down like trees in Stanley Park, left, right, and center. It was quite something.
We call that the Hanukkah Eve storm, and that knocked out power to over 1 million customers in the Seattle area, and I know a ton in Vancouver too.
And it actually made the drinking water of Vancouver turbid because of slides and rain and all this that happened at the time. I got to ask you.
Turbidity is your particulates in the water, kind of suspended in the water.
Yeah, it's muddy.
I got to ask you about the patch you have. Float around and find out.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so for those on television, here it is, and for those on radio, I will describe it. It has a weather balloon that is being exploded, and then Winnie the Pooh is holding on to the weather balloon, and so this is a reference to when the United States military recently got worried about weather balloons floating over the northern tier of the country, and so they decided they needed to shoot them down, and some of them may or may not have been Chinese balloons. Apparently, Winnie the Pooh is a euphemism for the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and one of the vendors at AMS, they manufacture weather balloons, and they were giving these out, and apparently there was a little verbal altercation that lasted about an hour between the vendor and a group of Chinese meteorologists that were visiting for the conference.
Yeah, it was almost a foreign policy little faux pas there.
Yeah, so we're not doing much to improve international relations here in Baltimore.
So here you guys are with your Northrop.
You know, my philosophy is, you come here, you remember that, you tell the Chinese, CCP line or whatever, get wrecked. This is America. We believe in freedom.
You got your Northrop.
We believe in blowing up weather balloons.
Northrop Grumman Tukes there. Northrop Grumman missiles shooting down weather balloons. I mean, what's going on in American meteorology?
Well, you also, Chris is wearing Lockheed Martin sunglasses.
Exactly. I have these on. I mean, obviously it's for a little bit of mystique as well, but and also your glowing presence on there is just blinding. But also, we call them the dark trifecta. We got Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman, and
who all only do weather surveillance. They don't do anything else.
Yep.
Oh no, not at all. Never.
No. We had a good joke going. It was 80% weather.
To say that.
80% weather satellites, 20% thermonuclear weapons.
I wish I was to say that. Maybe I could put in a new kitchen early.
So, anyways, the lady that we talked to, she got a kick out of it. She was cracking up, and she works for Northrop, so
80% weather satellites, 20% thermonuclear weapons.
Yeah, so that's the real takeaway from AMS.
So.
Oh, that is gold. Okay.
She was really upfront with us though. She was like, we do a ton of surveillance, and pretty much any surveillance can be weather surveillance.
Yep. She had a point there. I mean, military grade surveillance. I mean, that's the land cover maps, all that really high resolution stuff that the military has. I mean, that's huge for integrating the weather models.
And just so we're clear, your military uses it too, so it's not just us.
Yep.
Oh, no, it's not just you, definitely, and our military definitely also doesn't use Stingray for surveillance of civilians ever.
No. They use it for surveillance of weather. They tie into your phone just to see what the atmospheric pressure is. Nothing else.
We have speed cameras here, and it's
they
good to let
your phone just to see what you meteorologists are saying, and then they make big decisions
about the weather.
Right? Yes. D-Day. If cell phones existed in D-Day, that's how they would find out.
Listening to you guys to find out what's going on with the weather. We haven't played a Frankie video this week. Frankie, heavy rain to hit Los Angeles. He really wants us to watch it. I know he does, and I really watch it too. Ready, Frankie?
Yes. This is Frankie McDonald, my own team station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Heavy rains head towards Los Angeles, California on Sunday, February 4th, 2024. It's going to bring up to 50 plus millimeters of rain. That's around 3 inches of rain or more in Los Angeles, California and surrounding areas. It's going to last for the next few days. But the heavy rain's going to happen in Los Angeles, California for the next few days. Then it got cold air heading all the way to Los Angeles, California. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in greater Los Angeles, California and the surrounding areas. It's also going to affect Long Beach, California, Burbank, California, Hollywood, California, Glendale, California, Corona, California, Anaheim, California, Orange County, California, and Victorville, California as well.
Also Victorville.
It's going to bring a lot of rain in greater Los Angeles, California, and surrounding areas. Streets, roads, highways, and freeways will be wet, including interstate highways. There'll be a lot of puddles on the streets in Los Angeles and the surrounding areas as well. People in Los Angeles, California, be prepared. Make sure if your rubber boots, raincoat, train tools ready as well. When you go for a walk, don't walk through the puddles. Avoid the puddles when you go for a walk. When you drive a car, don't drive the car through the puddles either. In Los Angeles, since it's going to bring a lot of rain in greater Los Angeles and the surrounding areas as well. And Sunday will not be a good day to head to the beach, go swimming to get cooled off. Because it's going to bring a lot of heavy rain in Los Angeles. It's going to start on Sunday, February 4th, 2024. It's going to last for the next few days in Los Angeles and the surrounding areas as well. If anybody live in Los Angeles, California, be prepared for heavy rain on Sunday, February 4th, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in heavy rain. Stay dry, be safe.
Can I just say something real quick about the heavy rain threat down there? The big problem that they run into is landslides, especially around recent burn scars from wildfires. So they'll get these debris flows that come off the fire burn area and down into the canyon, and they're pretty incredible. Of course, up in BC, you guys get that, and in Oregon and Washington, we get that too. I'd say that's probably the real threat.
My summer job is I fight wildfire.
Earlier this week, Kinsey Clump was mighty busy this Wednesday. My next interview with Jamie Clump, Kinsey Clump podcast, will be on Tuesday, February the 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Atlantic, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Can't wait. Love those guys. Frankie, should people in Los Angeles wait to be prepared for the atmospheric river?
Yes, be prepared right away.
They should do it right now?
Yes.
Do it right now! Don't wait. Do it right now, everybody. Well, that's been a really fun show. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Cipher 88.7 and Prince George, Winnipeg, CKUW 959, 92.5, CFBX Kamloops. Thank you, Rogers Television. You've been watching us there, Vancouver Island. How wonderful. Thanks, Imogen and Frankie McDonald and Brandon Houck and Hilding Donaldson. And who else do we have? Brian Schmidt was here, and Hank Fleister tried to talk. And, of course, Mark and Chris. So this is how the panel is formed. Now that you've been on the show, you can just come in whenever you want.
expect me back.
Yep.
I would like that. I would
We,
like
we
that.
may
So
we
yeah,
may
that
kind
group
of trade
chat.
off, but yeah.
I put the link up every Thursday night, and sometimes it's whoever shows up, and we kind of just shoot from the hip.
I get to say that I am internationally syndicated now, and I'm not letting that go.
There you go. But you know, your first episode is always your feature episode, and there you are at the American Meteorological Society's annual meeting in Baltimore. Nobody on our show has ever done anything so weather nerdery.
And did you hear about this? How many days is Los Angeles going to rain for?
How many days, Frankie?
For the next 7 straight days next week.
I need to move there. I moved to Portland, Oregon from Eastern Washington, where it's a desert, specifically for the rain, and it's going to be sunny when I get back. I need to move to Los Angeles, apparently.
That's going to cost a lot of it. Landslides, mudslides, and everything. That's going to halt the movie industry. That's going to halt the movie filming in Los Angeles and Hollywood and all those places. That's going to cost damper on the Oscars and things like this. And
Are you waiting for a specific movie?
Don't know yet.
I'm the exact opposite. I moved to 1,200 meters up in the Caribbean Islands because I hate
Joey, are you ready
rain.
for the Twister? Are you ready for the Twister sequel this July coming?
I cannot wait, Frankie. I cannot wait. Hey, Frankie, when you're not stealing Wi-Fi at A&W, how can people find you on the internet?
If you want to find me on the internet, my Blue Sky is at Frankie MacD. My Linktree is at Frankie MacDonald. And my X, formerly known as Twitter, is at Frankie MacD. My Facebook is Frankie Down. My Instagram is Frankie MacD984. My TikTok is FrankDown984. My Clapper is FrankDown984. My Twitch is FrankDown984. My Snapchat is FrankAmyCDN. My YouTube channel is Dogs Wolves, and my link is Frankendown. Best luck there. I'm Frankendown. You're listening to Joy on the show every Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic.
We couldn't get a laugh out of Frankie on the stealing Wi-Fi tonight. The times have changed around here. Can't get Frankie to laugh at the stealing Wi-Fi. Anyways, this is Comedeorological Report. I'm Joey Only, up here in Wells, British Columbia, and thanks everybody for coming on the show. What a great time we had. Okay, and if you want to catch the live streams ever or any back episode of the show, you can always come to Joey Only, Caribbean Weather Dude, my YouTube channel, where we do all that. We broadcast Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Okay, I think that's about all. Anyone else got anything last to say? 30 seconds.
Quick question for Frankie. An atmospheric river going through the Amazon, how piranha infested in it is it, and what is the chance of being eaten alive by those atmospheric piranhas?
A lot. That means an atmospheric river that can trigger a whole lot of rain in Los Angeles. That's going to cause mudslides, going to cause earthquakes too.
Now, they call it the Pineapple Express, Frankie, because the winds were so strong it literally blew pineapples across the ocean.
And did you hear what they said? It's coming all the way from China.
And then it came all the way from China, but we couldn't shoot it down, unfortunately. Float around and find out.
Not piranhas.
All right, that's the show for this week. Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye. See ya. Never. Joey.
Be prepared.
You're a very handsome boy. Oh, look at the little one. Got a baby. They're very handsome. The very rare and endangered mountain caribou. Like to hang out here on the road in Wells. His girlfriend and a little one.
Hurricane warning! Earthquake warning! Hurricane warning! Earthquake warning!
You are a beauty, man. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, buddy. You are a beautiful, beautiful animal.
And I got something else to say.
What's a caribou to do on a day like today? If you leave your antlers somewhere, can I find them? If they fall off, let me know where they fall off. That'd be awesome.
Many of us have served long Facebook jail sentences. It's a blast, man. I mean,
Yeah, what do you guys think? Freaked out by humans looking at you?
Oh my God, in Japan.
Say we got shopping cart, shopping cart, shopping cart, shopping cart, shopping cart, shopping cart, shopping cart. Oh boy! Whoa, what is that? That's it was a shopping cart. And shopping cart, shopping cart, shopping cart, shopping cart. Oh boy! Oh boy!
It might have had sharks on Mars once upon a time.